Those familiar with my channel will know that I love evaluating cities based off of the appearance of their skyline. When doing that, I'm typically more focused on the actual skyscrapers of the city, but I thought it would be interesting if I ranked cities by the appearance of the bridges within the overall cityscape. Before I dive into the ranking, I wanted to quickly explain a little of what my methodology was in creating this. The most heavily weighted factor in putting this ranking together is how the bridge or bridges contribute to the actual cityscape. If a city has a beautiful and historic bridge, but it's a few miles away from the downtown, it may still be factored into my ranking, but will be weighted less heavily than if it were a major part of the skyline. There are other factors I'm taking into account, but you'll get a sense of those as I go through the ranking. With that said, let's start the ranking with our 15th best bridge city on the continent, Panama City, Panama. I visited Panama City a little over a year ago, and I think it's one of the most beautiful cities on the continent, and just south of downtown is the Bridge of the Americas. The beautiful bridge spans the Panama Canal, and it's often said that it connects North and South America, although I should point out that isn't technically true. If the bridge were just a little closer to downtown, it'd push Panama City higher up this ranking. Next up, we head to our second most northern city to make this list, Halifax, Nova Scotia. Halifax has two suspension bridges crossing Halifax Harbor, the MacDonald and McKay bridges. The bridges are almost identical, having a similar green paint color, and together they really enhance the overall cityscape of Halifax. Next, we have our first American city, my home of Minneapolis. Minneapolis has several interesting bridges crossing the Mississippi adjacent to downtown, but the most unique of these is the Stone Arch Bridge. The Stone Arch Bridge crosses the Mississippi at a skewed angle, giving it a unique and striking appearance. The city has other interesting bridges, including the Franklin Avenue Bridge, which at one point had the longest concrete arch span in the world, the Hennepin Avenue Bridge, and the modern Lowry Avenue Bridge. We head to Florida for the 12th best bridge city, Jacksonville. Jacksonville's Blue Main Street Lift Bridge is one of the primary landmarks of the skyline, and just downriver from that is the Green Hart Bridge and the Maroon Matthews Bridge. The most impressive bridge in the city, however, is the Dames Point Bridge, which is one of the largest cable-stayed bridges in the country. Next on our list is the city with my favorite skyline in the country, Chicago. Chicago is unique on this list in that it doesn't have large bridges that contribute to the overall skyline, but it's still a great bridge city because of the 37 movable bridges in the heart of the city crossing the Chicago River. One of the best things Chicago has going for it is the urban canyon created by the river, and the bridges are a major part of that experience. The first city to crack our top 10 is St. Louis. Multiple bridges crossing the Mississippi help frame the skyline with the Gateway Arch in the center. The most famous of these bridges is the Eads Bridge, which is a National Historic Landmark because it was the first bridge to span the Mississippi River. It's also significant because it helped pioneer bridge building techniques that were later used on larger bridges throughout the country. In the 9th spot on this ranking is New Orleans. The twin Crescent City Connection bridges are a major part of the New Orleans skyline. The massive bridges are tied as the second longest cantilever bridges in the country. New Orleans can also claim the longest continuous water bridge in the world, the Lake Pontchartrain Causeway, which is a whopping 23.8 miles long. We head back to Canada for the 8th best bridge city on the continent, Montreal. Montreal's most iconic bridge is the large Jacques Cartier cantilever bridge, which extends over the St. Lawrence Seaway. On the opposite side of the city is the new beautiful Samuel de Champlain Bridge, which is the busiest bridge in all of Canada. In our 7th spot, we have one of my favorite cities in North America, Philadelphia. I recently lived in Philly for a few years, and I think it has some of the best bridges on the continent. To start, there's the Blue Benjamin Franklin Bridge crossing the Delaware River. It's nearly 100 years old, and when it was completed, it held the title of longest single span of any suspension bridge in the world. Just south of the Benjamin Franklin Bridge is the Walt Whitman Bridge. The last Philly bridge that I'll mention is the double-decked Girard Point Bridge, which crosses the Schuylkill River near the Stadium District. As much as I love Philly, I have to admit that there is a big gap between Philly and the next city on this list, which is Vancouver, British Columbia. Vancouver is widely considered one of the most beautiful cities in the world, and its bridges are certainly a contributing factor to that. There are 3 bridges that extend from downtown over False Creek, but the crown jewel of Vancouver's bridges is the Lions Gate Bridge on the north end of Stanley Park. The beautiful suspension bridge is a National Historic Site of Canada and one of the primary symbols of the city. One of the many nicknames for the next city on our list is actually Bridgetown, and that is Portland, Oregon. Portland is a city I've visited frequently throughout my life, and it's certainly one of the first cities that comes to mind for me when I think of cities where bridges play a major role in the cityscape. There are 12 unique bridges just in the downtown area that cross the Willamette River. My favorite of these is the modern Tillicum Crossing Bridge. Just edging out Portland for the 4th spot on this ranking is Cincinnati. Cincinnati has 6 bridges crossing the Ohio River that perfectly frame the skyline, and there isn't a single ugly bridge between them. The bridge that ultimately helped Cincinnati outrank Portland, though, is the John A. Roebling Suspension Bridge. When the bridge was opened in 1867, it was the longest suspension bridge in the world. The iconic bridge paved the way for Roebling's most famous project, New York's Brooklyn Bridge. Now, the top 3 bridge cities are truly in a league of their own, but I ultimately decided to put San Francisco as the 3rd best bridge city on the continent. San Francisco doesn't have nearly the concentration of bridges as the last 2 cities that I've mentioned, but it makes up for it by having 2 of the most impressive and iconic bridges in the entire country. First, I'll mention the Bay Bridge, which connects Oakland and San Francisco across the bay. I'm such a fan of this bridge that it's actually been my Google background for the last 6 or so months. The other San Francisco bridge has to be the most iconic bridge in the country, if not the world, the Golden Gate Bridge. For over 3 decades, it held the title of longest and tallest suspension bridge in the world, and it's considered one of the 7 wonders of the modern world. It's not directly connected to downtown San Francisco, but it's certainly a major contributor to the broader cityscape. Before I get into my top 2, I just wanted to list some of the cities that nearly made the list for me. These honorable mentions include Boston, Louisville, Seattle, and Ottawa. In the 2nd spot on this list, I have Pittsburgh. Those of you who've watched many of my other videos will know I'm a huge fan of Pittsburgh, and I think it's one of the most picturesque cities in the world. A major reason for that is that Pittsburgh sits at the convergence of 3 rivers, which lends itself to having more bridges than any other major city. And it's not just the quantity of bridges that elevates the city, it's that they are also beautiful yellow steel bridges fitting for the Steel City. And the city that tops this list for me is New York City. I like a good underdog story, but I couldn't justify placing any other city ahead of New York. It may not have as many bridges in total as Pittsburgh, but New York's bridges are on a larger scale than any city other than San Francisco. Each bridge is a historic work of art, but none more so than the Brooklyn Bridge, which is second only to the Golden Gate Bridge as the most iconic bridge on the continent. Well, that does it for my video ranking the best bridge cities in North America. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a like and consider subscribing, and let me know in the comments how your ranking would differ from mine. Thanks for watching.